you a parent navigating the challenges of your child's learning journey? Are you wondering how to make education more accessible and engaging? If so, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Learning Disability Experts podcast, where we delve into valuable insights and strategies to support your child's different learning needs. I'm Jess, your guide on this journey.
I'm Jess Arce, and I am usually interviewing people for this podcast, but I thought today I would do something a little different and share with you Sammy, my youngest child's journey, as well as my journey as the mom of my son with 8 neurodiversities going off to college. So Sammy decided to major in culinary arts, and his focus is on baking, and he wants to be a pastry chef. And his goal is to open his own pastry shop. And first, he wants to start off selling his pastries at farmers markets or different type of cottage baking environments. And then eventually, he wants to open up a shop where people can come and play games and eat pastries and drink coffee and all of these things. So I thought I'd share his journey because as parents of neurodiverse kids, especially our kids who have pretty severe neurodiversities, or in Sammy's case, a lot of neurodiversities, sometimes we wonder whether they're going to be able to thrive or survive in life, if they're going to gain the skills they need, are people going to be patient with them? So many questions and concerns that we deep down inside have. We may not want to share them with people. So I hope that you find this helpful and insightful, and it gives you hope for your children. When Sammy was younger, he would talk about going to college, but to be honest, I never really expected that he would. I never shared that with him, and I always encouraged him. So when he decided to go to college for culinary arts, I was excited and glad that, I kept my fears to myself, because we need to be our kids' biggest advocates. And the way we do that is tell them that they can do anything that they set their mind to do. They have to be willing to do it, right? We force adults to do anything. It's hard to force kids to do anything. So we registered him for college. I think it was early August. It was pretty much at the end of the registration period for the fall, And he wasn't really able to pick too many classes, but he did get a few classes in his major. And it was good for him to start off with a light schedule anyway. I am not the kind of person who starts anything light. I take on way too much. So it was hard for me to have him only take 2 or 3 classes a semester. But it worked out well for him. It was low pressure. He's not in a hurry anyway. So that was okay. And my husband drove him to school the first semester every day and picked him up every day. The second semester, he started taking the bus to school. And if my husband or my oldest son were available to pick him up, then he would hitch a ride from them. Otherwise, he would take the bus home. And actually, just yesterday, he got on his electric bike, which was the first time since we moved in August. He rode his bike to work, which is a little bit farther than the school. So we went and registered him at school, and then we got an appointment with the Student Disability Services, which it's really important to register with them as soon as possible, because they take a while to get appointments, and you really want to have all that in place. Whether your child has minor learning disabilities or major ones, you want to at least register as soon as possible. And that's because if any issues come up, you want to be able to get the help quickly. And if they're not already registered, then you got to wait a while to be able to go into the Student Disability Services. So we were able to get the appointment before school started, and they wrote a list. They asked questions, and they wrote a list of all of the challenges that we had, and then we were able to get accommodations put in place. And he signed a letter or a form for them to be willing to talk to me, because once they're in college as adults, the school does not have any legal obligations to talk to us, the parents. They're now legally obligated to speak to the student. So the student needs to get permission for them to speak to them. And Sammy was also able to get a pen. He had a special pen that he could take notes in class, and recorded the session of class as well. And a little annoying because he couldn't pick up the pen immediately. It was like a week or two into school. And then it has to be returned at the end of the semester, and then you have to go through that again. He was able to pick it up quicker the second semester. It was the first week of school, and then he had to return it within a week of that last in-school class that he took. So he took a couple of 8-week classes, and he actually left one of his 8-week classes. He withdrew from it. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But so he had to return the pen at the end of that class, even though he still had an online class that went to the end of the semester. So we went to the bookstore, but we ordered his books, what we could order online because it's a lot cheaper than ordering them at the bookstore. But we went to the bookstore to pick up his culinary knives, and we had to stand in line. This one book, one supply, I don't know what it was, I can't remember now, but it never came in. Well, and he had to take his books into the Student Disability Service Center in order for them to give him digital audio versions of the book. So they want to make sure you paid for the book before they give you those accommodation books. And I don't know if all states provide those for college students. I know California provides audio versions of all textbooks, K through 12 and college. However, I don't know if every state does that. So check and see if that is something that you can get for your child. And, the accommodations will be made for your child according to what they need. Sammy's biggest concern was taking notes. I asked if he could have a scribe. They didn't really seem very like that was something they do, but the pen that he was able to take his own notes was fine. And then he had a letter that he gave to each of his teachers at the beginning of every class, beginning of the semester. And it was his responsibility to get that letter to the teacher. So, starting college was a huge transition for Sammy. He started taking responsibility for himself. He had to advocate for himself more than ever before, especially having been homeschooled. He wasn't really in an environment where he interacted with teachers much beyond just going to class and listening. But being homeschooled, he didn't really have homework assignments very often that he had to turn into teachers. He didn't have that same relationship that you have when you're in traditional school. So this was a very new experience for him. And so he not only was going to school, he also was volunteering at the school cafe because they ask the students to volunteer. And then that helps pay for all the food that they cook in the class. And so he volunteered more than the required amount. So that was nice that he felt more comfortable doing that and really wanted to step in and participate. And I gave him some experience in the back end. And then he also, as I mentioned on previous little videos you may or may not have seen, he is part of the TAP program, which is a transitional work environment for people on the spectrum, the autism spectrum. And that is a state-funded program that is put on by Meristem, which he doesn't participate with Meristem, but anyone can be a part of this work program. And so he works at the cafe at Meristem, and every semester they have him sign a new contract. He actually just signed his summer contract yesterday and went in for orientation for that. So that also teaches him, working in the kitchen. At the school, he worked the cash register and took people's orders. At Meristem, he pretty much just makes food. So it was nice. He got to get different practice, and he had a job last summer working at a bakery, and it didn't turn out so well because he didn't have patience for him. He said he was too slow and he just wasn't catching on quick enough. So this is great because now he has been in a couple of environments where, they're patient and understanding, and the teacher who was in charge of the volunteering at the college knows that he has neurodiversity. The teacher may not understand quite as well as we do at Meristem. However, all of it is still beneficial. So in class, he would talk to the teacher if he wasn't sure what to do. The first assignment he did, he was handwriting, and he has accommodations set up to type. So I reminded him that he had those accommodations in place, and he then started typing everything and stopped handwriting things because it's him having to handwrite things is very slow, which is why note taking was a big concern of his. And so the first semester, I helped him with homework pretty much every week. We would complete his homework assignments. The first week, he didn't start the homework assignment until the night before he was due. And he basically stayed up all night. I stayed up with him until about 12 or 1 in the morning. And I think he was up until 2, and then he went to sleep. And we got up at like 6 and finished writing. And then he went to school at 8. The second week, it was much better. He started working on it a few days before. And by week 3, he was on a better path, better track, getting it completed in time, didn't feel pressured or rushed. And by semester 2, I only helped him, I think, the first week of his homework, and then that was it. And semester 2, he took a math class, which it was online. He was really worried about that because of his ADHD, he sometimes struggles to pay attention to group classes online. And so the plan was I was going to do the group math class with him every week. But after watching the first intro video and the first week of videos, he never had me participate at all after that. And math was the hardest subject for him in high school. So I'm really proud of him that he handled that all by himself. He got his assignments done. He got his tests done every week. He was able to focus, and he got a B in the class. So that was awesome. And really, he did great with his grades in all of his classes. There was one class, it was his bread making class. It was an 8-week class, and he didn't read the grades right, and he thought he got a D, which doesn't count. And so I talked to him about, well, you might have to take the class over if you got a D. And he reached out to the teacher and asked about something that was left ungraded, and he met with the Student Disability Services to talk to them about his other class that he was struggling with the teacher. And they showed him how to read the grades. And so he ended up having an A in that class. So he thought he failed it and got an A. So that was really nice. So he's gotten all A's and B's in all of his college classes. And the class where he had the teacher who wasn't really gelling with, and he didn't feel like she was teaching, and it was a pastry class, so it should have been a really enjoyable class. They recommended that, if he wanted to withdraw within the next 2 weeks, and so it didn't count against him. And so he ended up withdrawing out of that class. It was only an 8-week class. And so that class he'll take over again. However, it won't, affect his grade, and it won't affect his GPA from that class, and he can look for a different teacher. We tried to register him for summer. They didn't have any summer classes that were in what he needs to take, so he's just going to work this summer. And he was actually offered a part-time job at the ballpark, so he's working at Meristem at their cafe, and then he's working at the ballpark doing food service. So that'll keep him a little busier than not working at all, so that's fine. And he gets a break from school. And so all in all, I'm so proud of him and so pleased that he's, giving it his all and really working hard at continuing to progressed through the program. And some of the challenges he had was the fact that his first class was a cooking class to cook food, and he's not really interested in cooking food. So I was a little concerned because it was something he wasn't interested in. He wouldn't focus, he wouldn't do the work. But he did it and completed that. And I was also concerned about the class where he was struggling with the teacher. And it seemed like he mentioned that quite a few students didn't care for her. And she didn't have good scores as the school report cards. But, he went in and met with the Student Disability Service by himself, and actually met with them twice by himself, and took care of the situation. So he's really matured a great deal in the last 9 months when he started school, which is awesome too. And I'm excited for next year. Maybe next year he'll even just start riding his electric bike to school. I think one of the reasons why he doesn't ride it is because his father has gotten him so scared about someone feeling it that he's afraid if he takes it someplace, it's going to get stolen. We do have a little bit of concerns about him being aware of all of his surroundings when he's riding his bike. But, we just have to hope and pray that he rides safely and all the people around him are aware of him as well. So, in closing, I just want to encourage all the parents who have neurodiverse kids who are ready to go to college. Sammy ended up waiting a couple of years, and COVID pretty much, kind of threw him off track. But in the end, I think that worked out better. He was graduating high school in 2020 when COVID hit. So going on to culinary school wasn't an option, and he wasn't interested in doing online culinary, which was the only option available really until 2023. So that ended up, he was older and had a couple of years to just mature and be more ready to figure out what he wanted to do. So I think one of the most important things as parents of neurodiverse kids that we need to remember is to let them go at their own pace and not push them to keep up with the other kids and our other children or society, or to feel like we need to keep up with the Joneses, right? Like, it's their lives and God put them on this planet the way they are. So we need to love and embrace them the way they are and not try to push them into being someone that they're not. And if you have a neurodiverse child heading to college and you feel like they need some more support with reading and spelling, writing, note-taking, or math, we're here to help with those. We have quite a few students who are between 18 and 20, and those students move along really quickly because they have such a strong foundation and a lot of confidence. So, schedule a consultation call with me and learn more about how we can help your child so that they'll be ready for college if you don't feel like they're quite ready yet.